The official response from both Albania and Kosovo is that they fully support the Western partners in their bombing attack of Syria, declaring that it was a timely and appropriate response in an effort to end the war. The Albanian Helsinki Committee has issued a statement criticising the Electoral Reform Commission for lack of transparency and declaring that the electoral reform is not proceeding at the required pace. Although the level of public debt in Albania is declining, it has been determined that Albania has the second highest level of public debt when compared to other countries of the region. Good evening, it's 6 o'clock on Saturday the 14th of April 2018. Welcome to the English edition of Aura News. My name is Alexandra and I'm here to bring you the day's top stories from across the country translated into English. Albania and Kosovo have supported the West for the latest bombing in Syria, while condemning the chemical attacks of the Assad government. The Albanian Ministry of Foreign Affairs recently published a statement saying that today's attacks by the US, Great Britain and France are a timely response to the use of chemical weapons by the Syrian regime. They went on to add that the Syrian regime performed an act that constitutes a serious crime, a violation of international norms, and declared they must be punished. There was also reaction from the former Prime Minister Sali Berisha, who wrote on Facebook that the Allied response was deserved and a welcomed attack against the dictator Bashar al-Assad. Meanwhile, the Socialist Movement for Integration believes that President Trump's initiative is in defence of human rights and international security. Even the Pristina declared their official support for the side of the West, given the positions articulated by President Thaci and Prime Minister Haradinaj. The president of Kosovo wrote on Facebook that his country strongly supports its allies in their effort to end Assad's regime and the war in Syria. Meanwhile, Haradinaj says that chemical weapons attacks are unforgivable, therefore the intervention was absolutely necessary. During a meeting with opposition leader Lulzim Basha, Elbasan farmers expressed their opinions against being included in VAT. According to them, this will eventually ruin them, listing a series of problems that they say are forcing them to abandon their land. Basha introduced them to the Democratic Party's plan for agriculture and told residents and farmers of Shushitsa that the first sign that the government had planned to include them in VAT was the requirement for a business registration code. Setting NIPT was a trap for introducing them into the VAT scheme, declared Lulzim Basha. The DP chairman guaranteed the farmers not only of Shushitsa but all of Albania that the DP will be on their side to face this measure, which, according to him, punishes the farmers and serves Edi Rama and his oligarchs. The Special Parliamentary Commission tasked with electoral reform is proceeding with their work at a snail pace, well exceeding the set deadlines. The Albanian Helsinki Committee is highly critical of the Commission, accusing it of lack of transparency. They published a written statement on their website declaring, despite the fact that the Commission ended its mandate on April 13th, there is no information on any important issues having been reached, solutions in consensus, if the work on drafting the draft amendments has even begun. The Albanian Helsinki Committee, based on the practices of the past, stresses that due to lack of consensus, major political parties have made changes on the eve of the election. These changes, drafted in a short time and without a transparent and inclusive process, have harmed the quality of the code and did not take into account the OSCE ODIHR recommendations for the last 3 elections. This may create the impression that the code changes are a monopoly of 2 major parties. The AHC suggests depoliticisation of the election administration and recommended the implementation of the pilot electronic system. They added that particular attention should be paid to proposals for changing the electoral system to include voting of Albanian nationals abroad, strengthening control over the source of funding of political parties, and measures to prevent vote buying. Residents of the area, public transport vehicles and frequent users of National Highway will have a lower tariff to travel on it. During the inspection at the construction site in Kukus Morin, Minister of Infrastructure and Energy, Demian Gjiknouri, said that they are continuing negotiations with the tendered company to find an acceptable solution for both parties. Negotiations between the tendered company and residents are being conducted, stated Damian Gignori. The axis connecting Kukas with Morina, which is part of the National Highway, will be completed within this year with double-laned bridges and road safety elements. The bridges in Kukas Morin will be completed within the year, added Damian Gignori. Minister Gignori said that this segment of the highway was left unfinished for many years, turning it into an accident black spot. Currently, travelling along the National Highway is free of charge following the toll booth's destruction during the protest. The requirement for payment is expected to resume after an agreement is reached with the tendered company for a concession to be applied to the tariff for residents. Albania remains one of the countries with the highest level of public debt compared to countries of the region, presenting a serious problem for economic performance. According to data from the Ministry of Finance, public debt is declining, down from 69.9% of GDP from 72.3% in December 2016. However, the World Bank recommends that fiscal consolidation continue by particularly reducing personnel, maintenance and local government spending. According to a World Bank report, the ratio of public debt in the Albanian economy should fall below 60% of gross domestic product by 2022. 2 years ago, the Albanian Parliament adopted a law which forces the government to lower the debt year after year. But according to this institution, the realisation of PPP projects remains a concern, as it will directly affect the debt indicator, being in itself a hidden debt. The World Bank suggests more caution to ensure that any investment is cost-effective and reduces the impact, as well as to undertake a series of reforms to boost economic growth, such as improving the climate of doing business, the realisation of legal and property reforms, and improving the skills of the labour force. A new exhibition dedicated to our national hero, Gjergj Kastrioti Skanderberg, was opened at the Armed Forces Museum. The exhibition plays host to a range of items on display related to the national hero, such as weapons used at that time, maps and emblems of the Principalities of Arbor, alongside many other important documents. Present for the inauguration event, Defence Minister Olta Gjachka expressed the commitment of the Ministry of Defence to the activities that will take place within the nationwide year of Skanderberg, which coincides with the 550th anniversary of the death of the national hero. This exhibition is just a symbol of our commitment to the year of Skanderberg, while months ago the FA contributed to the rehabilitation and maintenance of the martyrs' cemeteries and cultural monuments in all 12 districts of the country. Under the framework of commitments for the year of Skanderberg, very soon the Bodyguard of Honour and the Spirit Orchestra of the AF will have a completely new and dignified image. They represent a country where the national hero is one of the greatest war strategists ever known. History and facts prove that when the best values of our tradition are carried into the future, today is even safer, said Olta Gjachka. Also present for the opening of the exhibition were the Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces, Brigadier General Bardhil Kolchaku, the MP of the Assembly of Albania, Vullnet Sina, as well as many other senior military men and guests. Planting trees in the capital continues, thus increasing the green areas. Tirana's Mayor Erion Veliaj, during the planting of trees in the Farka Park, said that the level of participation from citizens was enormous, and equally so, the number of donors that contributed. Veliaj said that by Earth Day, the target of planting 122,000 trees will be achieved. We will plant 122,000 trees by 22 April to coincide with Earth Day, said Erion Veliaj. Employees of the Agency for Rural Development and a member of the Tirana Municipal Council, Agim Kraja, participated in the planting of trees in Farka, giving their contribution to greening up the city. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join me again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of Aura News, thank you and have a lovely weekend.